Country 1430 AM and 1073 FM WRDN. This is the WRDN Morning Farm Report. I'm Brian Winnekins. Joining us this morning is John Monson. He is Chief Mission and Marketing Officer with Compeer Financial. We're going to be talking about something that John's been working on since 2006, and it's something that affects a lot of people in rural America, and that's healthcare and assisted living. And we're going to talk with John about that. And thank you to Compeer Financial, along with Elsivia Co-op, Osteoplastics, Anibis Silo of Duran, the Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, and Synergy Co-op, our newsmaker sponsors. And John, thank you so much for joining us. This is a pretty important topic. I guess for myself, I feel pretty lucky because my mom, who's 87, who lives in assisted living, but she's in Southeast Wisconsin in the Pewaukee area. So she has a she lives in a great place. But for rural America, it's kind of a little bit of a different issue, and it's not the same. And it's something you've been working on since 2006. Tell us about that.
Well, so our efforts have really focused on rural healthcare, as you said, in rural communities. So we have financed a number of, hospitals, clinics, nursing homes since then. And really up until about 2014, we were even doing rural businesses and some other stuff. A regulator asked us to sort of limit our focus more around rural healthcare to make an impact. So we've been doing that. So we've done around 100 projects, about $1 billion worth of these kinds of facilities. This is rural infrastructure. This is healthcare infrastructure in rural America we're talking about, where these buildings, and assisted living is really a latecomer to rural healthcare by comparison to nursing homes and hospitals. But it's a little bit more of a new phenomenon, but now it's decades old, So as your parent and my father-in-law and probably soon my mother will enter assisted living as well, this becomes an infrastructure issue. Do we have enough, do we have new technology? Do we have the right kind of healthcare? Do we have the right kind of facilities that really bring world-class care to rural communities? That's harder here because the critical mass in rural communities isn't the same as it is in larger cities. So as a result, investing in that is critical. Rural healthcare and assisted living is really a community issue. It's not just a healthcare issue, it's a community issue, meaning you have to bring a whole community together to make it work. You have to have a good main street. You've got to have good schools. You got to have the right kind of daycare. And a lot of it works synergistically. So in order to make it work, you've got to make sure a lot of people are talking, that we're recruiting nurses to that community has housing, make sure that they have reasonable rent to be able to stay, that the healthcare community is interacting with the rest of the community to provide its public relations around their efforts and their challenges too. So it really takes a whole community. You've got a lot of city councils and county commissioners involved with all of this. It's just, how rural America works. It's just sort of a club to make stuff happen. And that's pretty much the case with assisted living. So we've been operating in that manner, in kind of a community-based approach to rural healthcare and assisted living for quite some time now. And we're investing in them as often as we can, especially when needed.
You've mentioned, all of these things. It's more than even just the building. It's all the other things, even high-speed internet, to attract the workers or to attract someone to even come build in a rural community. What are some of the other challenges you found when trying to help get these facilities built or updated, or just to get it to move forward?
So we work with U.S. Department of Agriculture. That's my history there. I was the state director in Minnesota for back in the early 2000s and before. So we work with them. We use their guarantee programs, and then we add in a component of their direct loan. It's all about their financials. Can they support it? Can they support a new facility? So our job is to use USDA together with a guarantee and a direct loan to make it affordable. That's the whole concept that makes this work. And so when we do that together and we're able to overcome some of those financial burdens and barriers that they face, then we can invest in these and do more of them. There are a lot of nursing homes that are very old, for example, and a number of them that are in nursing homes could also live in assisted living. Others require sort of a whole campus setting where you have the hospital, the nursing home, assisted living all together, even senior independent living. So there are these all care campuses that you see, all over the place too. So we're investing kind of in all of this, but it is a financial burden. It's a big investment in a rural community, and in many communities, it's the biggest investment in decades. So our job is to help them see through how to do it, to make it possible, to make it feasible, so they can. And we will help actually provide grants for feasibility studies, so they can look at this, and we'll do that in partnership with others too. So it's a process, but we can help walk anybody through that to determine, is it feasible or isn't it? And I think that's really the common barrier that is mostly faced in building these.
Talking with John Monson today. He's Chief Mission and Marketing Officer with Compeer Financial, talking about Compeer Financial helping out with rural health care, and not only the hospitals, but also assisted living. And John, that assisted living part, especially in rural America, it is very difficult because there's not a lot of facilities. But that it's so important because the quality of life, again, for my mom, it's okay because my brother and sister live down there. She's from that area, but in Durand, it would be very difficult if my mom had lived here for so many years, and the closest assisted living facility might be 50, 60, 70, 80 miles away. Now she's away from her friends. Now she's away from her family. And that's why this is so important.
Well, yeah, you spot on. And you're saying it exactly like we see it too. And what really affected me was in Wisconsin. There was a day where I walked through a room, and I was in an old assisted living center and nursing home together with Senior Independent up in Glenwood City. And I walked through and I saw a couple of veterans in a room, and they were divided by a sheet. That was their privacy. Neither one could get their walker or their wheelchair into the bathroom. That really affected me. And I told the administrator at the time, we really need to do something here. So we did. Unfortunately, the project started on fire that January. So we came back the next day and said, let's start a business recovery fund and let's start over. We did. The whole community got behind it, even more than before. It was a blessing in disguise. Once we built it, it was incredible. 1 to a room. It was a place where you'd want to leave your mom and you'd feel good about it. Well, it just so happens those two gentlemen, by chance, were in the therapy room a year later working out. And they were on the bike, and one was walking, 100 years old and 92 years old. Amazing.
Wow.
They were trash talking me about the Vikings. I mean, this is exactly what we want to see, so this is exactly the kind of thing that we do it for. That's the one story that I think has really made sure that we carry through on our passion to do this right and make sure that, especially veterans, our clients and others who really deserve this, and to have world-class facilities. That's what this is about, so that you and I can leave our parents there, our aunts and uncles, you name it, and feel good about that, knowing they're going to have great care. That matters.
So John, you mentioned the campus part of it, where you have the hospital, and then you have maybe assisted living and a nursing home facility all combined. Here in Durand, our local hospital, the nursing home, did shut down a few years ago, in the mid 20 teens. So have you tried to work with some of these healthcare providers, even some of the bigger ones, like I'll use like a Mayo or, Advent is here in Durand, or a Gunderson Lutheran, at least the ones that I can think of here in Wisconsin, to say, hey, you have a clinic or you have something in Durand. Have you ever thought about expanding this and providing this, and here's how we could do it?
So right now, today, in fact, our team will be at Leading Age. Leading Age is a pretty significant representative of aging healthcare, and so works with a lot of nursing homes, assisted living, and that's exactly why we're there. It's to be able to spread the word that we want to do more of this. We want to do as much as we can. Nursing homes. I mean, when you drive across rural communities all over the upper Midwest, a lot of them are old. Some of them are shuttered. Some of them don't have labor. They can't attract the people there. So they have wings shut down. The story that you're talking about is very familiar to us. So how can we work together? The one thing we've learned is, like, especially for nursing homes and even assisted living, I know this is a little inside baseball, but many of those in those communities can't finance them because it takes long-term fixed rate financing. That's what we're really good at. That's what USDA is really good at. And then working together with a local bank, we can make this happen. So the idea is a team sport. It's partnership to get the whole community behind it, and everybody comes together. So we see nonprofit, private, and public sector coming together to do these things. Our job is to promote that possibility in these communities. So this is another example of a way to do it, Brian, is through this show and to be able to share through this interview that opportunity. So we're always there and available. I mean, you can call me directly at 612-756-3983 and we'll talk about it. John.Monson@Compeer.com. We'll be there to talk about it, and we'll be there to examine those possibilities. We'll send our team over there, and we'll get an opportunity to see what's possible and what we can do. But we're very interested in, too many of them are closing down for multiple reasons. A lot of them now are labor related, though.
And John, have you worked on projects that might be, it might be like a regional, I'm going to use Ellsworth, Durand, Mondovi, Alma, and Plum City, these 5 communities. We'll use those 5 right in our area. So say, okay, you know what? Let's get these 5 communities together and we can have something centrally located. I'll just use Durand because it might, in my little corner of the world here, I think that's going to be like the center of those 5 communities. Is that something that has also been potentially talked about in some of these projects, saying, okay, you know what? We don't have really anything here in this geographic area, but if we can place a facility to serve multiple small towns, we get a little bit more economy of scale. It might financially work out better. The investment part of it and all of those other things, that critical mass you were talking about, is that a way to kind of solve some of this?
It is. It's hard to go out to every community and have regional conversations about the potential of this. So we need the rural communities to talk about it themselves, and we need them to have the foresight to think regionally, for the community leaders to come together and think regionally about that kind of potential. I couldn't agree more with that kind of thinking. Local communities need to quit thinking about what their locality needs, and they need to start thinking along with other communities what kind of critical mass is needed in our region. This is a perfect example of that opportunity. And so, I mean, I think of business retention is really kind of the same thing. When towns work together, they're stronger. They bring more critical mass to the effort and can bring more businesses into town, more jobs. Now we need, instead of jobs, we need workers, right? It's changed. The point of it is, though, we have to think more regionally about the opportunities. And I think you've absolutely nailed it on the head, Brian. That's exactly how we need to come together. But we need communities to do that. There are so many everywhere. And we have these projects all over the United States where we do this in rural communities. And many of them are in towns of 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000 people. Very small communities where it's the biggest thing that's happened in decades, as I say. And to a large extent, it serves as a regional facility. That's really what it does. That's what makes it work. So I love that thinking.
Because to me, I would think, okay, so, well, you know what? I'm just spitballing here, but okay, so Durand has the land, but really doesn't have the housing. But Mondovi has housing. Plum City also has, some housing and high-speed internet. Again, just throwing, and so it's almost like a puzzle, isn't it? Where, excuse me, these communities can get together and say, okay, I got this piece, and we've got this piece, and they've got that piece, and now we can put it all together, and look, we've got the completed puzzle.
Well, that's exactly right. And then, you need the community amenities to keep people there as well, right? And there's so good schools matter. Everything you're talking about is really what we talked about at the beginning. This is a community-based solution. It's a regional solution within a set of communities in a rural area. And again, you're speaking my language. I think you're speaking Compeer's language. That's exactly how we think of these things. And I like that you're spitballing them because they're right on. They're spot on. You're from a rural community and you understand that there are strengths brought to bear on all of this from each locality that makes it possible. And this is really true of everything across rural communities, where we have to really begin to think more regionally about what we all bring. I think of entrepreneurs. We were just down in some communities, really small communities, about some entrepreneurs that were moving their businesses out of their communities, out of the cities, and they wanted to be able to move into a small town. They did the exact same thing. They went checking around and said, do we have the critical mass around us in these communities to make a go of it, of what we want to do? And then they located there. That's what it took. So I think that it really applies to almost everything in rural communities, is that we have to think more about our region rather than just our locality, but we have to strengthen our localities as we do it.
Talking with John Monson, he's Chief Mission and Marketing Officer with Compeer Financial this morning. So, John, for those watching this on YouTube and those listening on air, if they would like more information, they can call you, they can email you. Is there a place even on the Compeer website that they can say, hey, I saw this or heard this, tell me more? And it doesn't have to be a mayor or a city councilman or a county board. It could be just Brian, the dairy farmer down the road who has older parents and is like, hey, how do we get this started?
Right, exactly. So you can go to compeer.com and you'll see a lot of different links, that might interest you. We have a corporate giving program for feasibility studies, for example. That's a great place to start. Go and talk to others in the community and say, can we do a feasibility study to see, is this possible here? Is there a need here? Would this work here? Do we need to upgrade our facility? A nursing home, for example. Can we think differently about, maybe continuous care, where we start working from senior independent to assisted living and ultimately nursing home? Does that make sense here? But you can go and you can kind of look through our website and you're going to see some rural America stuff and the rural community stuff in there. You can click on that and see what we do. Otherwise, you can contact me, John, JOHN.Monson that's MONSON at compeer.com. We have a team that works on this. I would get them involved quickly with the project and to talk to those who might be interested and begin to discuss what the possibilities are. So this is a great conversation, and I think you're asking all the right questions and you're thinking about it exactly the right way, Brian.
Well, again, I guess for me, it's something that's kind of near and dear because of my mom, where she's at with her assisted living, she was actually in independent living first and then broke her hip. She's recovered and she's fine. But for a while we had to have her in assisted living, but she's decided to stay there because it's made her quality of life that much better. And at the same time, all of her friends and her family, my brother and sister and the grandkids and all that live in that area. I'm the black sheep. I moved away. But they're there to visit. And they're there to be able to it's made a difference. And I guess, I see it as if she had lived here in Durand and was in the Twin Cities and had to move away for assisted living, her quality of life would be totally different. And it wouldn't be as good. So that's one of those things that I think that's why it seems to be very important. And again, even in our rural communities, we're starting to finally get, we're blessed here in Durand that, we have high-speed internet and it's fiber optic, and we have great schools in our area, not just in Durand, but in Mondovi and Plum City. But that's one thing that seems to be missing is that assisted living.
It is. It's a missing piece in many communities where we have a hospital, we have a clinic, and then we have a nursing home. And in a lot of cases, we don't have a nursing home. And then you got to travel, many miles even to the hospital. So healthcare, pharmacy is missing in a number of our, especially more remote communities. You can't get to a pharmacy within 30 minutes. All of this is a huge challenge for us, but I can tell you that it occupies our thinking all the time. So our job is to do the best that we can to try to help meet those needs the best that we can. We're going to use our corporate giving program any way we can to help. We will also use our financing tools and USDA to help. So whoever's interested in learning more, we'll do the best that we can to help guide that thought process and what's necessary to make this thing a go. But I agree with you. It's a gap in too many communities right now. And that's where I think we can help.
That is John Monson, again, Chief Marketing and Mission Officer with Compeer Financial. Visit compeer.com for more information on this program. If we could probably get the ball rolling here in Western Wisconsin. And in fact, John, I'm going to give your information to our Economic Development Director here in Pepin County. She loves grants. She's great at looking for them. So you may get a phone call or an email here within the next few days. But I think this is a great idea and something that's much needed. Again, thank you for joining us.
Of course. Absolutely. Thanks. Anytime.
That is John Monson, again, Chief Mission and Marketing Officer. You're listening to the WRDN Morning Farm Report.